Oselu today. Níbi tí a ti ń fọ̀rọ̀ jomitoro ọ̀rọ̀ tí a máa ń ṣe ìfọ̀rọ̀wánilẹ́nuwò pẹ̀lú àwọn ọ̀gàgàláńgíà olóṣèlú, àwọn adarí ìlú, àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣètò ìlú ní gbogbo àwọn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú tó wà lórígun mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin Nàìjíríà, àwọn tí wọ́n ń gbèrò láti ṣèlú àti gbogbo nǹkan tí ó wà ní ọkàn àyà wọn láti rí wípé orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà tẹ̀síwájú, ó kù ní bá a ṣe fẹ́, ó bọ́ sí bá a ṣe fẹ́ àti bó ṣe wù wá. Òní lọ́jọ́ Sátidé àkọ́kọ́ nínú oṣù kínní ọdún tuntun 2023. Òní lọ́jọ́ keje oṣù kínní ọdún 2023. Orúkọ mi ni Dr. Abdulyomi Mate Ifankaliluya. Pẹ̀lú ẹnìkejì mi.
Alright, my name is Benga Oreshego. It's a beautiful Saturday morning right here in the city of Lagos. As this is Oselu today on Fresh 105.3 FM right here in Lagos. This is where professionalism is nurtured by experience. And you know how we do it every Saturday from 7 a.m. all the way till 9. This is where we talk about politics or what's going on in the polity. We tend to bring political leaders, opinion leaders into the studio. They get to talk to us about what's going on, what needs to be done. And yes, in a couple of days, we're going to be going to the polls, having an election. And right about now, we have a big fish in the bill.
Òṣèlú ń bọ̀, ìdìbò ń bọ̀, ó dé tán, oṣù àti díẹ̀ bíntín báyìí ló kù tí a bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní tẹ̀ka dìbò yẹn ni tí a ní kó lọ ṣojú wa, kó lọ ṣolórí wa ní òkè pátápátá lọ́hùn àti láwọn ilé ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin àpapọ̀ ní tìpínlẹ̀ ní àtàwọn gómìnà. Ṣé mọ̀ wípé ọwọ́ ara ẹni la fi ṣèdájọ́ ara ẹni, ọwọ́ ara ẹni la fi tún orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ṣe. Bóyá ìlú le, ìlú ò dáa, bóyá ìlú ò dẹrùn, ẹnu lásán kọ́ ìka wa la fi sọ wípé báyìí la ṣe fẹ́ sí. Bí a kó máa lọ bí èmi aláwọ̀ kò lọ bí kankan wọn ó ti yé eyín jù lọ. A ju àwọn wa sódò, ṣùgbọ́n ẹja tá a gbé lónìí, small body big engine, ọ̀kadà tó ń fa ríruwe, ọ̀kadà tó ń fa ṣíì. Àwọn kan ní nígbà tí a tiẹ̀ ti ń jù sórí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára pé ẹni tí a gbà lálejò lórí ètò Òṣèlú Today lónìí, àwọn kan ní kò ní wá, àwọn kan ní àkọlé wá, àwọn kan ní wọ́n wà, àwọn tó bá dé yóò dé towards the end of the program. Ṣùgbọ́n àkọ́kọ́ ni pé èmi gangan tí mo jẹ́ atọ́kùn ètò or tí mo jẹ́ kan lára atọ́kùn ètò, mo bá àlejò wa ń bí.
That's a great plus. A great
bá
plus.
àlejò wa ń bí.
Actuality, discipline, I'm really impressed.
Ìyẹn àkọ́kọ́. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì, ẹ ti mọ̀ wípé lórí ètò yìí eléyìí kì í ṣe àkọ́kọ́ pa, eléyìí kọ́kọ́ ṣe àkọ́kọ́ pa fún ẹtìmọ̀ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn olóṣèlú ńláńlá, àwọn senators, former senators, incumbent members of representatives, House of Assembly, àwọn olóṣèlú ńláńlá, local government chairmen láti gbé wá sórí ètò yìí. Ṣùgbọ́n lónìí ẹ̀dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé kì í ṣe ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú kan là ń gbé wá, àti gbé NNPP wá, àti gbé Accord wá, àti gbé APC wá, àti gbé PDP wá, àti gbé Labour Party wá, àti gbé Zenith Labour Party wá, àti gbé káàkiri. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ̀ láǹfààní sí social media, tẹ́ ẹ̀ tí ìmọ̀ ẹni tá à ń gbé bọ̀, ẹni tá à ń gbé dé lónìí, ẹni tí gbogbo àwọn èèyàn fẹ́ gbóhùn lẹ́nu rẹ̀ ni. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ló fẹ́ ṣé lóòótọ́ lẹ́ni ìfẹ́ contest, ókè á ti mọ̀ fún contest, kí ló ní lọ́kàn, kí ló ní lérò, ṣé lóòótọ́ ni. Ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú kan bẹ tí gbogbo àwọn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èèyàn fẹ́ràn, African Action Congress, AAC ló ń jẹ́. Ẹni tó wá jáde dupò gẹ́gẹ́ bí ààrẹ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà nínú ètò ìdìbò tó ń bọ̀ lọ́nà yìí, òun náà ni a gbé wá sórí ẹ̀rọ ètò Òṣèlú Today lónìí.
Yes, Comrade Omoyele Sowore is right here in the building. And good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Let me just wish our people Happy New Year all around Lagos within your jurisdiction and coverage.
Happy New Year to you.
Ẹ̀yin yọ àkú ọdún, àkú èdò, àkú àlàjá ọdún lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà tiwa. Inú wa dùn pé a wá sórí ètò yín lónìí. Ìlú Èkó náà làwa ti dàgbà. Fún àyín tí ẹ mọ̀ tẹmọ̀ wá díẹ̀, ìlú Èkó láti lọ sí iléèwé gíga ní University of Lagos. So mo máa ń kára mi mọ́ àwọn ará Èkó. Mi kì í ṣe ọmọ Èkó, àmọ́ ará Èkó ni mí.
All right, so talking about your stay in the University of Lagos, we heard a few stories.
Yes.
And that you are, in fact, a human rights activist. You led the struggle different times, while you were in school.
Yes.
And when you left school. So, you're known to have participated in pretty much every struggle in Nigeria in the past 30 years.
That's right.
So let's start. Let's tell us about your background in the area of human rights struggle.
Well, my struggle transcends human rights, and I was involved in the struggle for democracy. I'm mostly known for fighting alongside some great giants for democracy in Nigeria. We had a task to drive the military out of power in the 90s.
Were you not scared?
No, I wasn't scared, but I was scarred.
Scarred?
Yes, considering that I have injuries to show for those years, even till today. So I also participated in the struggle for environmental justice in Nigeria. I was involved with Kensarawiwa or the Ogoni struggle. Partially, I wasn't in the middle of it, but we're all part of that struggle. And of course, the human rights struggle was a struggle to ensure that the dignity of the Nigerian person was respected. But you look at it generally, what is human rights? It's also encompasses the struggle for democracy, economic justice, social justice, cultural justice, and political justice in the country. So when you see someone is a human rights activist, he's also a pro-democracy activist, also an environmentalist. All of them are the same as far as today is concerned. Yeah, so, but the struggle for students' rights at the University of Lagos was also a major struggle because it almost took my life. Yeah, well, every struggle that I got involved in pretty much targeted my life. Yes. So I don't know where to start sometimes, but I really started when I was a freshman at the University of Lagos between 1989 and 1990. That was when I arrived at the University of Lagos. And subsequently, it just kept escalating. I'm one of the people who can say to you categorically that since I started the struggle for human rights or the struggle for democracy, I've not rested. My first detention experience was about 1990. My last is 2019. You understand? Well, not 2019, 2021. So I've not rested. I've been in detention some 11 times.
11 times?
Yes. Benny. So, what in yìnbọn sí mi? Yes.
Wọlé?
Ó fẹ́ wọlé kó wọlé náà ni. Yes. Wọ́n ti gún mi lọ́bẹ nígbà tá wà yunifásitì. Nígbà kan wọ́n ti abẹ́rẹ́ bọ̀ mí lára. They were trying to inject some poisons into my system at the University of Lagos when I had a struggle against cultism there. So there's pretty much nothing I haven't been through. Nothing except death. Yes.
Alàgbà kì í ṣe ọjọ́ orí o. Lọ́la àwọn nǹkan tí ẹ ti là kọjá yìí àtàwọn nǹkan tí ẹ ti là kọjá yìí ó ti gbé yín sí ipò àgbà débi pé ọjọ́ orí kọ́. Alàgbà Omoyele Sowore, ìjàngbara àti òṣèlú. Àwọn kan nígbàgbọ́ pé ó yàtọ̀ síra wọn. Nítorí pé àwọn olóṣèlú tí wọ́n bá ń ṣe rándanrandan játijàti rédèrèdè báṣubàṣu máramàrà àwọn tó bá ń jìjàgbara àwọn ni ohùn aráàlú àwọn ni wọ́n máa ń gbéná wojú àwọn olóṣèlú pé bàṣákì ń tẹ̀ ṣe yóò dá sẹ́ ń tẹ̀ ṣe nígbà tí ẹni tó wá ń jàjàgbara tó náà wá darapọ̀ mọ́ àwọn olóṣèlú rí pé báwo ló ṣe jẹ́ sá.
Sherry, àwọn tí wọ́n wà tí wọ́n pè lóṣèlú lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà wọn kì í ṣòṣèlú, ọ̀jẹ̀lú ni wọ́n. Àwọn aráàlú ò mọ̀ṣèlú. Tẹ́ bá jáde lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà tẹ́ lọ sí àwọn ìlú òkè òkun lẹ́ máa mọ àwọn tó ń pè lóṣèlú. Àwọn tó ń wà ń bí ọ̀jẹ̀lú ni wọ́n. Àwa tí ẹ pè ní oníjàǹgbara, àmọ́ yàtọ̀ sí oníjàǹgbara nítorí pé yàtọ̀ sí pé mò ń ja ìjàǹgbara, àwa ń jà fómìnira ni. Láwọn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà náà wọn ò mọ ìyàtọ̀ láàrin òmìnira àti òmìnira.
Freedom fighter.
Yes. So tí ẹ bá ti kúrò nínú ìyà, tẹ́ ẹ ti bọ́ kúrò nínú ìyà, tẹ́ wá ń sọ pé ẹ̀ ń wá oníjàǹgbara, ẹ̀ ń tọ́ra yín jẹ ni. Àwọn olómìnira la fẹ́ ni ó yẹ kí a ní, torí òmìnira la fi ń wẹ̀ ń sìn yín. Torí ẹ̀ la ṣe sọ fáwọn aráàlú pé àwa lè jàjàgbara, a lè ṣòmìnira. Ní 1999, láti 1989 ni mo ti wọlé ìwé gíga ta ní pé òkè fún wa ní àwọn ìjọba tí ó tọ́, àwọn ìjọba òṣèlú, àwọn alágbádá. Àmọ́ nígbà tó ń ṣe tán ní 1999, ṣáwọn òṣèlú lẹ bá ń bẹ̀ ni. Àwa tí a wá jàjà yẹn láti 1989 di 1999, aláàṣemọ́ oníjàǹgbara ni wá, gbogbo akẹ́rù wa a lọ. Nísìnyí ríbi tá a wà ni. Ṣé ìbámá ti da ní 1999 kó jẹ́rú àwọn bíi Gani Fáwẹ́hìnmí ni wọ́n jó lórí fún Nàìjíríà, yàtọ̀ sí bàbá yín lọ́tà tó jẹ́ ọ̀tá ìlọsíwájú. Àbóyé nǹkan tí a ṣe padà wá nìyẹn pé a ṣe àwọn àṣemáṣe kan ní 1999, àbá ti dúró káwa fúnra wa ká tún lù ú ṣe. Àwa fi ìlú lẹ̀ fún àwọn oníjàgídíjàgọ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni. It was a mistake. I would agree with that. We should have stood by in 1999, stand back, organize ourselves and take over power. Because without power, you can't change anything. It is the people who are in power who controls what you eat. They control your last name and your first name. Because without government issuing you a certificate that carries your name, the name is not legitimate. They control your marriage. Without government accepting that you are married, you are not married. So if you are not in power, you are not in government, you cannot change society. And I've done it to the best levels possible on a personal level. I was a student activist. I was a pro-democracy activist. I was a big journalist, even though I didn't go to journalism school. But even though it had some impact on society, it did not change society fundamentally the way it should. And my exposure in life showed to me, after traveling to about 30 countries around the world, that without good people in government, government cannot be meaningful to the life of the generality of the populace.
Okay, let's look at it.
You said any akọ̀ròyìn oníròyìn ṣùgbọ́n bó jẹ́ jẹ́ pé ẹ̀ lọ sí ilé ìwé tí wọ́n ti ń kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ nípa iṣẹ́ ròyìn. Good. You are the publisher and the CEO of
Sahara Reporters. Yes.
Now, àwọn èèyàn ń gbé kinní kan kò yé ẹnu. Wọ́n ní tó ṣokùnfà tẹ́ ẹ fi ń gbàpò tí báyìí ni pé kájọ lájọsọ kájọ ládìrún bá a ṣe máa ṣe eléyìí nǹkan tó máa padà kàn mí rè o. Pé ìgbà tí nǹkan yẹn wá padà kan Omoyele Sowore ló wá ní rárá ìlú ò ní gbà máa dojú ìjọba wó bí àpẹẹrẹ. Wọ́n ní bí 2011, 12, 13, 14 wọ́n ní àwọn èèyàn ń gbé ipò yẹnu pé Omoyele Sowore àti iléeṣẹ́ Sahara Reporter wọ́n jẹ́ ọ̀kan gbòógì lẹ́ni tí wọ́n gbé ìjókòó báyìí tí wọ́n bá dúnàdúrà wípé báàlà bẹ́ẹ̀ iṣẹ́ afẹ́ bí ìjọba tó wà lókè yìí wò nítorí pé wọn ò ṣe dáadáa nígbàgbọ́ àwọn tí wọ́n pè ní ìjókòó. Wọ́n ní ẹjọ́ ṣèpàdé. Nígbà tẹ́ wá ṣèpàdé òun ẹ wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní wá gbogbo àṣìṣe ìjọba yẹn, ìjọba àná ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní wá gbogbo àṣìṣe yẹn lẹ rí tí àwọn èèyàn lè rí wá rí pé ìjọba yóò ṣe dáadáa o tí wọ́n fi bí ìjọba yẹn wò. Àwọn èèyàn wá ń gbé ipò yẹnu pé ó fẹ́ jọ bí ẹni pé àdéhùn tí àwọn tí wọ́n pè yín jókòó gbà náà pé ní tí wọ́n padà tọ́ sí ọ̀rẹ́ o ibi tí wọ́n padà dìmú rẹ o nígbà tí ò wá bọ́ sí mọ́ lè wá pinnu pé ẹ fẹ́ dojú ìjọba ìbò lẹ̀ torí àwa náà rántí bá àti ẹ̀ ti dàgbà púpọ̀ ńgbà náà ní nǹkan bí ọdún bíi 7, 8, 9 sẹ́yìn pé ìpolongo pé ìjọba tó wà lórí àlefa ńgbà náà kò ṣe dáadáa rárá àwọn àlébù rẹ̀ rí ó pọ̀ lẹ́nu Ọmọyẹlé Sowore àti Sahara Reporter.
ṣé rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èèyàn lórílẹ̀‐èdè wa ni ó máa ń jẹ́ ìyàlẹ́nu fún pé ẹnìkan lè dìde lórílẹ̀‐èdè tí òun ṣe oníjẹkújẹ tí òun bẹ̀bọ̀ jẹ́ tí òun bá wọn wọlé búra pé wọ́n máa jọ máa bàálù jẹ́ ó máa yà àwọn èèyàn wá lẹ́nu. ìdí tí mo ṣe sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé wọ́n ní pọ̀ àmọ́ ẹ bèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ń ṣe wọ́n ní wípé níbo ni mo ti ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú wọn.
evidence dà ìdájú dà.
yàtọ̀ sí yẹn àwọn wo ni mo ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú nígbà tá a fẹ́ lé Babangida lọ. ṣòye yín àwọn wo ni mo ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú nígbà tá a jà pẹ̀lú Abiola lórí ọ̀rọ̀ June 12. àwọn wo ni mo ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú pé kálẹ̀ Abacha lọ. àwọn wo ni mo ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú nígbà tí Ọbásanjọ́ dé tó lóun fẹ́ ṣe ààrẹ lẹ́lẹ́kẹta. ṣòye yín àwọn ni mo ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú nígbà tí Jonathan tí wọn ò jẹ́ kó gorí oyè àwọn èèyàn Yar'Adua nígbà tí Yar'Adua ti kú pápátá tí wọ́n bò mọ́lẹ̀ àwọn mo ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú. ṣé rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn wa ní òye. no mo ẹ ní sùúrù.
ó yẹ kí ẹ bèrè pé àwọn olè ó yẹ kí
ẹ
ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú àwọn èèyàn náà láti pé Jonathan ìjọba rẹ̀ wò.
yes mo ṣe dárúkọ Jonathan pé àwa la sowọ́pọ̀ pẹ̀lú Jonathan èmi tí mo jókòó sí bíbá láti rí i pé ó di ààrẹ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ní around 2010 or so nígbà táwọn Yar'Adua sick tára Yar'Adua ò yá. so ẹ wá bèrè lọ́wọ́ pé àwọn wo ni mo ṣe pàdé pẹ̀lú láti dojú ìjọba Jonathan wò. ṣé àwọn wo ni mo á ṣèpàdé pẹ̀lú láti dojú ìjọba Buhari wò. àbí kí ni mo ṣe lọ sẹ́wọ̀n fún oṣù 5 fún ní 2019. mo dìde nígbà tá a ṣe selection tán pé ìjọba eléyìí ò bójú mu a dẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní mobilize káàkiri Nàìjíríà tí wọ́n pè ní revolution now. ìyẹn ló ṣe mú mi ní August 3rd 2019 tí wọ́n ṣe tì mí mọ́lé fún oṣù 5. so ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn ló ń pa oríṣiríṣi irọ́ kò dẹ̀ ṣe pé bí àwọn parọ́ pé wọ́n mọ nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ nǹkan tó bá ti gbọ́n ta tí wọn ò mọ̀ díẹ̀ àwọn náà tún wọn kàn máa fọ kiri pé ẹlòmíín rí mi tí ò mọ̀ pé èmi ni Sowore tó ń parọ́ mọ́ mi níwájú mi torí wọ́n rò pé ẹlòmíín rò pé torí orúkọ yẹn tóbi wọ́n rò pé bí mo ga ni bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ní máa jókòó síbi kan báyìí wọ́n nígbà mo mọ̀ Sowore tí máa sọ fún pé mi ni Sowore wà ó ní Sowore tí mo mọ̀ ọ̀gá tẹ́lẹ̀ yìí Sowore tí mo mọ̀ tóbi jẹ́ lé lọ torí pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èèyàn ni ò mọ̀ wípé ọmọ 51 years old ni mí ojú ọmọ kékeré náà fi ń wò mí àtàwọn ọmọ tí wọ́n bí ní 1999 2000 àwọn yẹn ti di ọmọ 23 years old nsìnyí wọn ò mọ nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ní 90s kò dẹ̀ wá sí ẹ̀kọ́ history mọ́ níléèwé wa láti ẹ̀ ti mọ̀ pé àwọn tí ó jà fún ìlọsíwájú Nàìjíríà líle ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ ni ò mọ ẹni tó ń pè ní Fẹlá Aníkúlápó Kútì tó wà yẹ kọ́kọ́ gbọ́ music wọn Davido Àṣàkẹ́ nìkan ni wọ́n mọ̀ Tiwa Savage Wizkid náà mọ̀ wọn ò mọ̀ pé Nàìjíríà ti wà tipẹ́tipẹ́ pé àwọn tó dẹ̀ ń jà fún ìlọsíwájú Nàìjíríà wọ́n pọ̀ rẹpẹtẹ ṣóyè yín so tẹ bá ń bá wọn sọ ìyàlẹ́nu ló máa ń jẹ́ fún wọn àfi tóbi wọn wá pè wọ́n pé àjọ lọ síléèwé pẹ̀lú Sowore wò lẹ́ lọ síléèwé pẹ̀lú ṣé bọ̀bọ̀ kékeré yẹn ṣé bọ̀bọ̀ tó rí jáńjálá yẹn kò yá àwọn yan so ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn tí wọ́n ń parọ́ mọ́ mi pé mò ń ṣèpàdé pẹ̀lú ńgbà táwa ń jà fún òmìnira Nàìjíríà tá à ń jà fún democracy ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn sápamọ́ sábẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀dì ni àwọn tí wọ́n ti jẹ gọ́vnọ̀ sí yìí wọn kò sẹ́ni tó mọ orúkọ wọn àwọn tó ti jẹ gọ́vnọ̀ in the last 23 years èmi inú wọn kò sẹ́ni tó mọ orúkọ wọn ní 1990 èmi nǹkan inú wọn mi ò mọ̀ wọ́n rí àmọ́ fún 20 ọdún tí mi ò sí ní Nàìjíríà yẹn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan ṣẹlẹ̀ mọ̀tìgbà tí mo á padà dé ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èèyàn ṣe ń gbóríṣi òótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ nǹkan tá a ti ń ṣe sẹ́yìn tẹ́lẹ̀ so gbogbo àwọn irọ́ tí wọ́n ń pa yẹn kí ló dé tó jẹ́ pé tíyàn kan bá mi jókòó nígbà tó ń mú mi tó ń tì mí mọ́lé wọn ò lè sọ síta pé àjọ jókòó pẹ̀lú Sowore ni o èmi nǹkan ń parọ́ pé ọmọọṣẹ́ Tinubu ni Sowore tẹ́ ẹ bá fẹ́ sọ màá sọ èmi máa ń sọ fún wọn pé Tinubu pé ńgbà táwa ń ṣe tá à ń jàjà fún democracy kékeré ni wọ́n lè dàgbà jù mí lọ bọ̀ nínú ìjà yẹn àti ogun yẹn kékeré ni wọ́n jẹ́ tó yẹ torí Yorùbá máa ń pa lówe pé kékeré ni abẹ́rẹ́ kéré àbí kí mi fàdí ẹ̀ mi ò ń ṣe mímì fún ẹnikẹ́ni nínú wọn torí ẹ̀ ni wọn ò ṣe lè jáde kí wọ́n á sọ pé àwọn ṣèpàdé pẹ̀lú mi ò ń báyọ̀ ṣèpàdé mi ò ń báyọ̀ ṣẹgbẹ́kẹ́gbẹ́ torí ẹ̀ ńgbà tá a fẹ́ wá ṣe olóṣèlú la ṣe dá ẹgbẹ́ tiwa sílẹ̀ la ṣe wà pẹ̀lú wọn torí òkùnkùn àti ìmọ́lẹ̀ kò lè ṣe papọ̀.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You are known to have a radical agenda about bringing a change to Nigeria. And also, this is not the first time you're vying for that
Position.
As
Yes.
president, I recall that you did so in 2019. What are you doing differently?
Well, there is nothing that has changed fundamentally since the last time I ran. All right? The only thing that has changed is negative leadership and what it has done to ruin Nigeria. Because when you look at Nigeria, Nigeria's leaders gets worse progressively. By next year, if we are not careful, if you don't vote for Sowore, you might be saying that Buhari is better than the president that will take over from him. There are people who are saying that Shagari, you understand, the government of Shagari is better than the government that came after it, and subsequently like that. You know, Babangida was worse than Abacha. Abacha was worse than every government that's come before is better than the one that's existing, because Nigerians have not made the right choices. But what has changed with us, or what is going to be radically or more radically different, is that we have challenged the powers that be fundamentally to the point that we have radicalized the society to accept that one of the solutions to Nigeria's problem is a revolution. The people don't used to believe that a revolution is needed. They say, well, let's go to the next election. Yes, and when we talk about revolution, before you ask, an election can trigger a revolution in two ways. One, if it produces the right leader, and that kind of a leader engages in revolutionary leadership. Or it produces a terrible leader in a society that is tired and frustrated with terrible leadership. It will trigger a physical revolution. We can't escape one of those in the next dispensation. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, torí ẹ̀ mo ṣe wá síbí lónìí. Ṣé mọ̀ pé ńgbà tẹ́ sọ pé ṣé Sowore ń bọ̀ nbí, mo ní èmi mo kọ́ débì àwa la ṣí géètì pé nítorí a rí i pé àwọn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn wá wà tí wọ́n ń gbọ́ yín tí wọn ò mọ nǹkan tí ó ń rí lè ń ṣẹlẹ̀, àwọn tí wọ́n ti pajá lọ́bọ̀ fún a fẹ́ ṣàlàyé fún wọn torí àwa ní àyè láti ṣe irú ẹ̀ ńgbà tá a wà lẹ́kọ̀ọ́, àmọ́ bí ọdún mẹ́rin sẹ́yìn mo ṣe ń wọ Èkó bíi 2022 ni wọ́n tì mí mọ́lé nígbà tó mo kúrò láti mọ́lé wọ́n tì mí mọ́ Àbújá fọ́dún mẹ́ta pé mi ò lè jáde. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Never wish. You can take the call.
See you live. Mata ìbò rẹ o, má fi ìbò rẹ ṣòfò, mata ọjọ́ ọ̀la àwọn ọmọ rẹ, mata ọjọ́ iwájú orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà nítorí iṣẹ́ kínímọ̀ ní, nítorí agolo ráìsì, nítorí ṣéǹjì kan, bí èèyàn bá ta ọjọ́ ọ̀la rẹ̀, ìbànújẹ́ ni ó padà jẹ́ fún. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa níkànnì Fresh 105.3 FM Lagos lórí ètò yìí ètò wa Òṣèlú Today. Ẹ lè darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lórí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára at Fresh FM Lagos, at Fresh FM Lagos, lórí Instagram at Fresh FM Lagos, lórí Twitter at Fresh FM Lagos. bákan náà ẹ̀yin tí ẹ fẹ́ máa gbọ́ wa tàbí wò wá látòrí app ní ó simple gan ẹ kàn download Fresh FM app lórí Google Play Store á gbé gbogbo àtẹ 7 radio stations tó jẹ́ ti Fresh FM jáde ẹ wá click sórí Fresh 105.3 FM Lagos ẹ á máa wò wá clean and clear ẹ máa gbọ́ wá níbi tá a ti ń gba ọ̀gàgà láńjíá tó dáńtẹ́lẹ́nu tó gbólóhùn bí àgbà ọ̀jẹ̀ comrade Omoyele Sowore tí wọ́n ń díje dupò ààrẹ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà lábẹ́ àsíá ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú African Action Congress AAC ṣé mo gbà á sà?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ AAC bẹ́ẹ̀.
Okay, so
Omoyele Sowore.
all right, then let's continue with the conversation. I asked something earlier, and we were still in the middle of it. That this is not the first time.
This is not the first time.
Gone for that office. And what are you doing differently this time? Because I remember in 2019, there was in fact, some sort of alliance you had with some persons, some presidential candidates from different parties. I heard Peladrote was part of them. Obi Ezekwesili actually moderated some things. And now this time, what are you doing differently? Maybe I'm sure you must have learned some lessons.
Yeah.
And said, okay, let's do it differently.
In 2019, I was not in an alliance. I was invited to a meeting of younger presidential candidates. Okay. It was, I think, young presidential candidates coming together. So I attended the meeting once at Peladrote, Mogalu. The one I attended, Obi Ezekwesili, wasn't there. But when I left after the first meeting because I didn't see any seriousness on their part. That I was right later on because all of them have now fizzled out, as you can imagine. But this time around, we've gone around country likely and come to an alliance with the PRP Vanguard. PRP is a Kano-based political party that was founded by one of the most respected Nigerian political activists, Aminu Kano. And then it was later run by Balarabe Musa, a former governor of that state. Of Kaduna State. So that alliance, I'm sure you have heard about. But this time around, we have also looked at some of the issues that were not covered in the 2019 manifesto. We've upgraded our manifesto, and it's on our website, Sowore 2023 and aacparty.org. Sowore2023.org and aacparty.org. You can see the new manifesto there, which covers all of these issues that weren't covered. And we're breaking this down to a number of things, but the two ways to look at it, the two pillars, is to address Nigeria's foundational problems and also address Nigeria's institutional problems.
Foundational problems.
Yes, institutional problems. The foundational problems are problems that has to do with how Nigeria came to be and how to continue Nigeria as one united nation, founded or based on justice. Because Nigeria is falling apart. Anybody that is deceiving you, don't listen to them. Nigeria is falling apart. Nobody believes very much in this country, Nigeria, anymore, because Nigeria has not delivered the promise that was expected of it to the people. And it has something to do with how Nigeria was created or set up. As I keep saying, Nigeria was set up as a business. It wasn't set up as a nation. It was, yes, it was set up by the British as a business in 1900. And now, later it became a country in 1960. But it didn't become a nation, and it has not become a nation to today, because a nation is a place or a country of people who have generally similarities and common heritage that brings them together. Nigeria has similarities, but there's no common heritage. And the reason why that heritage has not come to be is because of the kind of leaders Nigeria has produced over the years. To break it down, for the institutional part, we're addressing the issues of security, power, infrastructure, healthcare, education, tourism, technology, and all those great things. But you can't build this on nothing. That's why for the foundational problems, we are planning to create a brand new constitution for Nigeria, so that all Nigerians can agree on the content of that constitution. Sure. And they will include things like referendum. If somebody wants to go there should be an exit hatch for them. If they no longer believe in the country, you can't keep using the AK-47 to force people to stay in a country that doesn't deliver justice to them.
Okay, so let's look at it. Let's look at your party, the African Action Congress. You formed the African Action Congress. This was prior to 2019.
2018, yeah.
Okay, 2018. And what makes, it's on two faces, what makes the AAC different from all the political parties we have now?
It's the only.
And also,
Yeah.
let's look at the AAC party structure all over the country. How strong are they? Because we know that most of the time over the news and say that without structure, the political party cannot win anything.
The difference between the AAC and other political parties is it's an ideologically based party.
Okay.
It's based on ideology, and it's based on personalities also who are of conviction. People who have distinguished themselves as radical elements who believe that Nigeria should not be run this way. The other parties are transactional structures. I'm going into structures now. What are transactional structures? You want to run for election, you come and set up an office in my neighborhood, you give us some money. After election, I don't see you again. You know, it's a transaction. When the transaction is over, you know, I move on. 4 years later, if I still need you, I bring in more money. I bring salt, sliced bread, shandin, and then when you are done eating it, I move on. If you want to make the structure a little bit, Ben, if you want to make the structure a little bit fantastic, you call it stomach infrastructure. What it means is that I'm building bridges inside your stomach, schools inside your stomach. You know what happens? After I'm gone, you have to go to the toilet. It's over. Right? So, but our own is different. We don't.
But it has worked for some in the past.
But has it worked for the country? No. Yes. Yes. Ben, àmọ́ Yorùbá náà ló sọ wípé tí a bá ń wówó lọ sí tàtà pàdé yìí lọ́nà ká padà sílé torí tá a bá lówó ọ̀hún tán iyì la máa fi rà.
Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Omoyele Sowore là ń gbà lálejò lórí ètò òṣèlú today Fresh 105.3 FM Lagos. Mo mọ̀ bí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn ni ó ti máa ìbéèrè ó ti máa tawọ́ tasẹ̀ nínú wọn a máa ṣe ojú òpó sílẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n ká tó ṣe ojú òpó sílẹ̀, ẹ̀rọ ìsà, ǹjẹ́ ẹ̀rọ pé yẹ kẹ́ ẹ ṣe sọ́ọ̀rì kẹ́ kọ́kọ́ tọrọ àforíjì lọ́wọ́ àwọn Nàìjíríà?
Lórí kíni?
Àwọn èèyàn rò wípé wọ́n nígbàgbọ́ pé ẹ pẹ̀lú àwọn tí ó polongo fún ẹni tó wà lórí àlééfà níjọba tó wà lórí àlééfà nígbà tí ìjọba ẹ fẹ́ kúrò lọ́wọ́ ẹni tí wọ́n gbàjọba lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀.
Ṣé ẹ̀yin pàdé mi rí ní rally tí mo polongo fún yàn àbí mo pè yín rí pé kẹ́ dìbò fún yàn kan ní 2015 àbí ẹni tí mo kọ́ síbì kan pé ẹ dìbò fún Buhari mo mọ̀ pé Buhari lẹ̀ ń sọ àbí ẹ pàdé mi ní ẹni ìpàdé pẹ̀lú ẹni pátì rí pé mo wà nínú ẹgbẹ́ kan àbí ẹ rí mi lẹ́gbẹ́ APC ni èmi gan tó bá jẹ́ 2019 ni mo kọ́kọ́ máa dìbò láti gbà tó ti bí mi 2019 bẹ́ẹ̀ ni so torí gbogbo àwọn tó ń parọ́ yẹn fún yín òun lẹ ṣe ń sọ síta ń sìn àmọ́ àwa ń sọ fún yín pé àwọn tó gbéjọba yìí sórí oyè àwọn gan lẹ ń sátẹ̀lé wọ́n máa parọ́ yẹn mọ́ mi pé ẹ wà you brought Buhari to power àwọn Ọbásanjọ́ tó gbé Buhari to power ṣèbá àwọn náà ń tẹ̀lé sí àbóyè àwọn PDP àwọn ẹgbẹ́ tó ń gbéjọba wọlé tó ń wọlé wọ̀ta pẹ̀lú ẹ mọ̀ wọ́n ẹ yé máa parọ́ mọ́ ẹni tí ò mọ̀ tó lọ́wọ́ sí bàjẹ́ mi ò bá wọn ṣe bàjẹ́ rí mi ò bá wọn ṣe ṣẹbẹ́ nu yín la ti ń gbọ́n sìn ṣẹbẹ́ yìí lẹ́ ń polongo ẹ̀ pé kémi apologize fún àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà pé kí apologize fún pé mi ò sí lára àwọn tí ó ń ṣèbàjẹ́ ni mo fẹ́ apologize fún ni àbí kí apologize fún pé àwọn ìjọba olè tó wà lórí oyè tèmi ń pariwo síta lórí Sahara pé olè ní wọ́n o olè ní wọ́n tẹ́lẹ̀ rí pé olè ní wọ́n lóòótọ́ àbẹ́ ìmọye tó ń ná lórí election wọn ní 2015 ni owó tó yẹ kó fi bá Boko Haram jà tó ń pín láàrin ara wọn ṣé irọ́ ni àbí Desiani tí ó kówó epo jẹ ṣé yẹn ni irọ́ ni àbí ìyàwó Jonathan tí wọ́n bá $25 million lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ tí wọ́n ti dá padà fún sìn ṣé yẹn ni rọ ni. Ìdí tí mo ṣe ń sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé gbogbo ìgbà náà máa ń béèrè àwọn ìbéèrè yẹn lọ́wọ́ mi tá bá ti wá ṣàlàyé fún wọn tó bá ti mọ̀ pé kò ń ṣe rọ́mọ́ wọn á tún yà sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ mi pé ok àgbàbò mi lọ pé ok a mọ̀ pé kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ èèyàn kan ló sọ fún mi ẹnu èèyàn báyìí ni mo ti gbọ́ kí lẹ rò pé mo ṣe lè wá sí station yẹn lónìí nítorí mi ò ní nǹkan kan tí mò ń fi sápamọ́. I don't have any skeleton in my cupboard. Oṣù márùn-ún ni mo lò nínú detention ní àtìmọ́lé tí wọ́n wá gbogbo account mi pé bóyá èèyàn kan tẹ̀ fún mi ní $1 million rí yàtọ̀ sówó tí mi ṣiṣẹ́ fún wọn rí wọ́n láti yọ àwọn ẹ̀sùn yẹn kúrò nínú ẹ̀sùn mi ni. So but tẹ́bá.
lára bí tá à ń bọ̀ níṣẹ́ olóṣèlú ṣó gbọ́dọ̀ níṣẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àbí òṣèlú tó níṣẹ́.
Ó ṣe pàtàkì pé olóṣèlú ní nǹkan míì tó ń ṣe.
Iṣẹ́ wo lẹ̀yin ṣe?
Iṣẹ́ ìròyìn ni mo ń ṣe. Iṣẹ́ ìròyìn tí mo ń ṣe ó kàn jẹ́ pé ẹ lè máa fojú tẹ́ńbẹ́lú mi ni ó tóbi ju is a global media platform ṣóyẹ yín mi ò kàn sí lára àwọn oníjẹkújẹ ni tó bá jẹ́ pé mo fẹ́ máa jẹjẹkújẹ ni owó tó máa wà lọ́wọ́ mi máa pọ̀ ju nǹkan tẹ́yìn kan lè rò lọ but èmi ò ń jẹjẹkújẹ nǹkan tí mo bá ní ó tẹ́ mi lọ́rùn 20 ọdún ni mo fi kúrò lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà tí mo wà l'Amẹ́ríkà mo tún ṣiṣẹ́ teacher I'm a university lecturer fún 10 years ni mo ṣiṣẹ́ teacher fún.
ṣé ní Nàìjíríà mi lóbi.
ní òkè òkun I taught in 2 universities ní New York City.
tí ẹ bá jìjàgbara tíjọba wa gbé yín tí wọ́n lọ tì yín mọ́lé ìyàwó àtọmọ màmá àti bàbá yín báwo ni ẹ ṣe máa fi wọ́n sọ pé ẹ fi Nàìjíríà rẹ o.
kò sí ẹni tó ń jàjàgbara tí àwọn aráalé wọn tí wọ́n ní sọ fún wọn pé ọ̀rọ̀ Nàìjíríà ò ṣe mọ́ ṣóyè yìí àmọ́ ṣe wọ̀ pé yàtọ̀ sí pé èèyàn wá sáyé láti fẹ́yàwó àti ọmọ ẹlòmíì náà tún ní kádàrá ohun tó wá ṣe láyé ohun tẹ́ bá wá ṣe yẹn ẹ ní láti ṣe ẹfẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ so inú èmi dùn fún pé àwọn aráalé wa wọ́n ti mọ irú èèyàn tí mo jẹ́ mi ò tí ì rí ìyàwó àtọmọ fún ọdún 4 bí mo ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí wọ́n sì tì mí mọ́ Nàìjíríà passport mi wà lọ́wọ́ Buhari wọ́n gba passport lọ́wọ́ mi pé mi ò lè jáde mi ò lè wọlé sí Nàìjíríà but èmi decide pé mi ò ní sá fún wọn ìlú tán bí mi sí leléyìí mi ò ní sá fún ẹnikẹ́ni ìlú tán bí mo lò 20 ọdún l'Amẹ́ríkà ẹsẹ̀ ara mi ni mo fi padà wá sí Nàìjíríà pé èyí tá a ṣe lọ́hùn náà tó ká wá tún lù wá ṣe.
Okay, now let's talk about Nigeria. On the news, they said that this administration will be leaving 77 trillion naira debt. Now, debt service has actually got about 80.6% of the 2023
revenue.
Which is, and how do you plan if, peradventure, Nigerians actually give you or you get the mandate as being the president? How do you plan on sorting it, knowing fully well that our problem is debt to revenue ratio issue?
Yes.
ṣé kìí ṣe pé tẹ́ ẹ bá tọ́lọ̀ máa ń jẹ́ ẹ wọlé ẹ máa nírí nǹkan kan ṣe ẹ máa sọ pé ó yẹ kẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ pé ìjọba tó tí mo gbàjọba lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ ti bà nǹkan jẹ́ jì náà gbèsè 7 trillion náà jẹ́ sílẹ̀ yìí gbèsè là ń san lọ́wọ́.
ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ pé Yorùbá máa ń pa òwe kan pé aláìníṣẹ́ lọ́wọ́ tó ń dá parí oṣù òun lọ́rọ̀ àwọn òṣèlú tẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ àwa ti rí pé kò ń ṣe pé kò sówó owó wà Nàìjíríà yàntúrú àmọ́ owó yẹn ò dọ́dọ̀ àwọn aráàlú ní problem wọ́n pín láàrin ara wọn ni àpapín tí wọ́n ṣe ń pawó yẹn ló ń pín ìdí ẹ̀ lẹ ṣe rí pé Accountant General of the Federation tí wọ́n bá 150 billion lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ èló ni owó tí a sùn béèrè fún ẹnu yín ni àti máa gbọ́ yẹn ṣùgbọ́n owó táwọn asuu tí wọ́n lọ fún strike fún oṣù 9 èló náà ń fẹ́ they were only looking for 200 billion naira 200 billion wọ́n fún wọn but Accountant General ní tiẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ Attorney General náà ń jí tiẹ̀ ejò ń gbówó mì mọ̀ kí ń gbówó sápamọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà náà ni àmọ́ to answer your question the 77 trillion naira debt has to be investigated first. Is
audited.
it audited? Investigated and audited. Is it true that we are owing 77 trillion naira? That's one. Yes. Secondly, is that if we are owing, we are entitled to pause repayment. So yẹn kò sí ẹ̀wọ̀n onígbèsè. So yẹn onígbèsè bẹ́ẹ̀. You are entitled to pause the repayment if it's shocking your economy. It's a general practice, it's a popular practice in international economic relationships. But most importantly, the question is, where are we going to get revenue to run the country? And I have identified about 5 different sources. Yes, one of it is the taxes owed by oil companies. Okay. Over 4.7 billion of that dollars has not been paid, even though they are making profit. Immediately I'll retrieve that. Then federal revenue generating agencies, there are about 70 of them. They are owing the federal government every year 11 trillion naira. That is half of the national budget. They don't pay back. And nobody's getting it from them because we practically don't have leaders in this country. I will make sure that is remitted immediately. Then we have an investment in a company called the Nigeria Liquefied Natural. Yes. We are supposed to be getting $21 billion from that investment, especially now that Russia and Ukraine are fighting. The price of gas has gone up. Yes. Gas is the most highly demanded product in the world now. If you hear about the UK, London, our Nigerian brothers and sisters there, they cannot heat their homes because there's gas scarcity around the world. Nigeria, in Ogoni land, has over 60 billion cubic feet of gas.
I'm not talking about the ones.
Yes, we are flaring, but the ones that we are selling, the money is sent back, not to the federation account, it's sent to the NNPC. The money was invested by the federal government, the people of Nigeria, in the NLNG. But when they are paying dividend, they pay to the NNPC. And NNPC has been privatized. Are you getting my point? It's just like somebody who is working in a place and you are asking the person salary to be paid to his side chick. How is he going to be able to feed the main chick? This is just to break it down in a very simple but funny way. So there are several others like that. Our tax to GDP ratio is low, but 7%. We need to expand that to about 15%, which means that we'll collect more taxes, not increase taxes. And that is an area of economics that you call tax justice.
But manufacturers are all already growing.
We are not asking them to pay more taxes. We are just collecting the taxes that we are entitled to as a country. And then we eliminate all those waivers. 16 trillion naira was given out as waivers to 5 Nigerians. The last
16 trillion.
Yes. The Dangotes of this world, they got waivers and tax rebates worth 16 trillion naira. Dangote is building a road, I think, from Apapa to somewhere in Mile-2, maybe about 4 kilometers. He's going to get trillions of naira in tax rebates for a road that will cost him, or that should have cost Nigeria less than 5 billion naira. Are you getting my point? So you have all these big sources of funding for us. We have mineral resources that should be owned by the state, but have been taken over by rogues, governors, traditional rulers. There's gold in Osun State, right? There's coltan, the main mineral for making cell phones in Nigeria, in huge quantity. Are you getting my point? So you have several of these things. You have agricultural products. Cassava is big deal in China. You understand? Sorghum is big deal. I have also argued, and it's controversial, but it's true, that marijuana, cannabis will fetch us over $5 billion per year in just 4 states of the Federation: Ondo, Ekiti, Delta, and Edo. Yes, Igbo. Yes, Igbo ti gbogbo èèyàn mọ̀. Kò ń ṣe pé kí èèyàn mu gbó kójú ẹ̀ máa ràn ní Igbo wà fún. Oògùn gidi ní Igbo. Pé èèyàn ní cancer, wọ́n fi egbògi, bẹ́ẹ̀ni, egbò igi gangan ni igbó ó wà fún. Tí ẹ bá dé oko igbó ẹ máa mọ̀ pé egbòogi ni. Àwọn koríko tó máa ń wà lábẹ́ igi tẹ́ bá dáko igbó ẹ̀ ní láti yọ koríko kúrò, igbó fúnra ẹ̀ ló ń pa àwọn koríko tó wà lábẹ́ ẹ̀. Tẹ́ bá dóko igbó àwọn ẹranko tó máa ń lọ síbẹ̀ wọ́n sóòpọ̀ tó jẹ́ pé tó bá pàdé ra wọn nínú oko igbó wọn ń bára wọn jà, olúkúlùkù á mú tiẹ̀ a máa lọ ni torí egbògi ló jẹ́ fún wọn.
Let's still stay on the oil industry, okay?
Yes.
Fuel subsidy. The federal government said that by June this year, they would remove subsidy. What's your take? And
there is no subsidy.
And if you become the president, what would you do in that regard? Are you going to still, because
there's no subsidy, and I'm saying this categorically as an investigative journalist. I've been investigating subsidies since
give us the facts.
2012. You understand? It was some of our investigations that led to the Occupy Nigeria protest in 2012. That was the beginning of the downfall of the Jonathan regime, by the way. So we discovered during that period that they were importing fuel, petrol to Nigeria without the petrol leaving the refinery where they claim to buy it from. In one instance, yes, wọ́n ra epo tó ń sọ pé wọ́n rà tó ń kó wá sí Nàìjíríà, epo yẹn ò kúrò níbi tó ti rà torí ọkọ̀ tí wọ́n fi ń gbé epo wá sí Nàìjíríà tí wọ́n kọ sílẹ̀ pé ọkọ̀ eléyìí gbé epo wá ó da epo sílẹ̀, ọkọ̀ yẹn ó ti jì sí kòtò láti 20 ọdún sẹ́yìn. One of the biggest vessels they were using to bring fuel to Nigeria, by 2012, the vessel had sunk in the high seas 20 years before. But it was being registered in Nigeria as bringing in several tons of petrol. It's the same thing they are still doing till today. Even the foreign companies like Transfagora and all that are bringing fuel to Nigeria that are involved in these fuel subsidy scams, they have been found to be committing crimes of this type in countries like the US, and they've been fined billions of naira. But they're still doing business in Nigeria. The fuel subsidy thing is the biggest scam facing Nigeria till tomorrow. And apart from fuel subsidies, AMCON, which we'll talk about, that's another big scam. The one that they use to take over, toxic loans from rich people. So there's no fuel scarcity thing going on. Beside that, Nigeria allocates over 450,000 barrels of oil on a daily basis for local refining. It is not refined because we don't have refineries. Ask them, where is that 450,000? Multiply 450,000 barrels made for local refining by $100, which is the price of oil today. And these 450,000 barrels are not subject to the kind of revenue sharing we have with oil companies. This belongs to Nigeria for local refineries, for refining. And there are 4 refineries in Nigeria. All of them have broken down. But ask yourself, why is it that the refinery that is not working, costing us over 450 billion naira per year for maintenance? Refineries that are not working. It cost us over 450 billion naira for maintenance, payment of salaries, and this has been the case for the last 7, even before Buhari came into existence. So you move on to the next scam that they are doing with this refinery thing. It's their investment in the Dangote refinery set up in Lagos. The Nigerian government is investing $2.7 billion in Dangote refinery. And this 2.7 billion naira could have fixed all the 4 refineries in the country and be producing petrol for us. The only product that is today subsidized, according to them, is petrol. Who is subsidizing diesel? No, diesel is not subsidized. So why are we not getting any benefit from it? Kerosene is not subsidized. Gas, cooking gas, is not subsidized, all right? Jet A1 fuel is not subsidized. So what is the benefit you are getting from your subsidized product? But let me tell you, if you refine a barrel of fuel, a barrel of crude oil, you get over 6,000 products from it. 6,000. So what they are doing, the latest scam, the scam that they do now is that they will take all the petrol out, all the crude oil out. They will refine it. They'll give it to refineries. They call it swap. And the refineries will refine it and get 6,000 products and give us one back. And we will still subsidize it. And it's going to cost us over 3 trillion naira in 2023.
Alàgbà Omoyele Sowore là ń gbà lálejò àwọn lè ń gbóhùn ọyẹ lórí ètò yìí ètò Òṣèlú Today níkànnì Fresh 105.3 FM Lagos. Ìbéèrè méjì wà tí mo fẹ́ béèrè. Ẹ jẹ́ nǹkan béèrè alákọ̀ọ́kọ́. Ìjọba tó wà lórí àlékọ́ àyè. Ìjọba ààrẹ Muhammadu Buhari. Ìjọba APC. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹnìkan gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà. Ǹjẹ́ a rí nǹkan kan tíjọba yìí ṣe tó dáa? Nǹkan tíjọba yìí ṣe pátá kò sí ètò dáa mẹ́.
Eléyìí ò ń ṣèjọba. Àwọn tó wà ń tàn sí náà pè ní jàmbá.
No, but let's us be fair. Looking at the PIA, the Electoral Act, which you're going to benefit from coming this election, are you saying that none of the things they've done
Railway
is
Railway bó ṣé kíní kẹ̀kẹ́ márúwá tó ń pè railway tó ń lọ sékòó síbàdàn ní ìyẹn ní railway àbẹ́ ìwọ́nu railway ẹ jáde nílùú ìkẹ́ wọ nǹkan tó ń pè railway. Àwọn ọmọ lankele léyìí yàtọ̀ eléyìí ń ṣe railway.
kò sí tíjọba yìí ṣe tó dáa rárá.
Ẹyẹ náwó sí kan ṣé PIA tó ń sọ tí wọ́n sọ ń sìn kí ni PIA tó ń sọ ọmọ ta ló rán léwé àbí ẹni tó ta ló sanwó oṣù fún pẹ̀lú PIA àbí ẹ wọ́n fi ń san rẹ́ǹtì yìí ni. Ẹ jẹ́ ká sòtọ̀ fúnra wa eléyìí ò ṣèjọba.
How about the electoral act?
Has the Electoral Act ever given you a free and fair election?
No, it's just been signed. But we saw what happened in Ekiti. We saw what happened in Osun and Anambra.
Are you listening to the Osun tribunal at all? Have you heard about overvoting in tribunal? Or Ekiti that Fayemi just hijacked the thing and they were paying money to people? Electoral Act is not going to give you a free and fair election as long as you have access to cash and you can pay people off at polling units.
In other words, you don't trust INEC with this your coming election?
No, I've said it everywhere that I don't trust INEC. INEC that is populated by APC as federal commissioners, nominees. There was a time even Buhari had the audacity to nominate one of his media aides, Loretta Onoche, as to represent the party in APC. I lived in Abuja for the last 3 years. I know what is happening there. I've had to organize 3 protests to INEC in the last 4 years, called Occupy INEC, because of the fraud we see that is going on there. So don't let anybody deceive you that INEC will give you a free and fair election. It's the people alone, if they are vigilant, they are the only ones that can give themselves a free and fair election. So that's what happened in 1993 that brought in Abiola.
Okay, let's talk about poverty.
Yes.
Multidimensional poverty.
Yes, now you are talking.
This is something that's
now you are talking. Everybody, yeah.
Multidimensional poverty in Nigeria. Now, according to the NBS, they said that 130 million Nigerians are poor.
Yes.
Which is sad. Okay, the rich and the poor, nothing like middle class anymore. Now, the federal government,
the middle class have gone to a country called Japan now.
the federal government recently accused the governors of being responsible for this. How do you intend to bring the 130 million Nigerians out of poverty?
You see, it's now that you're talking, because you were asking me earlier that I should show to you what this government has done that you think is positive. And I was referring to poverty by saying, has PIA ever paid the school fees of your kids? Well, let's go to your question. You see, when you want to pull people out of poverty, the first thing you do is give them great leaders. I don't know if you have heard about the Great Depression in the U.S. in the 1920s. Yes. And what they did was to first go and look for great leaders. And the great leaders then brought great policies.
Great leaders brought great
policies. And then they invested in those policies. They invested in themselves. That's how some of the greatest public infrastructure acts were brought about in the U.S. These bridges that you hear about, at the time in the U.S., they were so obsessed with building their country. They built what they call a bridge to nowhere. They just kept building the bridge, so that it would be the longest bridge in the history of their country. They built railways, they built airports, they made sure that there are over 3,000 universities in their country. Built great hospitals. They built fantastic infrastructure. They invested in education, healthcare. They invested in technology. They invested. That was how their own industrial revolution started. Because, you see, there's a common saying in English language that if you don't control your finances, you can't control your destiny. And the way to make people get out of poverty is to provide them jobs. And the way to create jobs is to invest in infrastructure and all those things that will provide immediate jobs. So if you don't make those investments, that's why we have what we call Spicer heat. In the security arena alone, we are foreseeing that over 1.6 million jobs can be provided. In the power sector, the kind of mix of energy we want to bring, it will bring over 4 to 5 million jobs because we're investing in energy transition, solar power in the north, for instance, gas power turbines, which we already have, but make them work, to build new hydroelectric dams in the country, like the one that creates flood from Cameroon. We needed to build a hydroelectric dam there. It would be used for irrigation, it will restore the ecosystem in the area, and it will power the country. We want to do biogas. So, in essence, in building over 20,000 megawatts of electricity in 4 years, you will be providing nothing less than 5 to 10 million jobs, direct jobs. The indirect jobs that are provided, if you switch on electricity in this country today, our GDP will fly to about 10% per year. Because there are a lot of people who just need that switch to be turned on so that you see what you call productivity, both in the formal and informal sector. People will go to work. What is killing Nigerians today in terms of the kind of talent that they have is that you don't have power. You don't have an energy source that is sustaining a functioning economy. And as long as you don't solve that problem, you are wasting your time. There is no country in the world that's ever had an industrial revolution without energy, power. Number one. It's number one. So the moment you put the power sector on the right path, you have exploded the country in an economic direction that would never have been seen before. So we're having 1.3 million people. We can quickly get some 50 million people, directly and indirectly, to have a means of livelihood, to start generating revenue. Because even inside your house, if you have electricity, there are things you can produce. Outside your house, there are things you can produce. All this agricultural revolution that we are talking about, green revolution, the reason it's not working is because you don't have electricity. Because if you have electricity, you can put a refrigerator on your farm. And you push your products from there on the road on a refrigerated truck as well. And when it's getting to the city where they are needed, there's processing that would happen. And you can process things on your farm. But how can you compete with a Chinese person, right, who has permanent electricity, and you that don't have permanent electricity? They are making Ankara now in China. China is going to start making gari, and then you'll be in trouble. They'll buy all your cassava, take it to China, turn it into gari, and bring it back. They're already doing that with cashew. It's just processing. The difference is power. You understand? Then you invest in healthcare, education. We need over 1.2 to 1.5 million teachers to go into secondary schools, primary schools, and universities to train people. Are you getting me? Are those not jobs? In the US, for 320 million people, they have 2.6 nurses. All right? Nigeria has less than 40,000 nurses for 205 million people. Are you getting my point?
Oselu today ló ń tẹ̀síwájú Fresh 105.3 FM Lagos. Ẹ máa yí kó ń bẹ̀ o, comrade Omoyele Sowore tí wọ́n ń díje dupò ààrẹ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà lábẹ́ àsíá ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú African Action Congress AAC ní àgbà lálejò àbọ̀.
Get your copy now.
Download the Fresh FM app on your Android phone, tablet to listen to Fresh FM anywhere in the world. To download, go to Google Play Store and App Store. Search for Fresh FM Nigeria, select the icon tab, and install for free. Follow the on-screen instructions, complete the installation, and get our content anywhere under the sun in no time. The Fresh FM radio app is all in one. You can listen live, watch us live, see our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram posts, and news updates. The Fresh FM Nigeria mobile app can be downloaded on Android and iOS. As you use the Fresh FM app, review and rate our app. We're available 24/7 for more updates. Thank you for choosing Fresh as the best with Oakrest.
Ẹ káàbọ̀ padà sí ìkànnì Fresh 105.3 FM Lagos lórí ètò yín ètò wa Òṣèlú Today níbi tí a ti ń fọ̀rọ̀ jomi tó ọ̀rọ̀ tá a ti ń gba comrade Omoyele Sowore lálejò tí wọ́n ń jáde dupò gẹ́gẹ́ bí ààrẹ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà nínú ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú AAC African Action Congress. Ìbéèrè ṣe pọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn èèyàn ti ń
pè
àgbé ìpè báyìí ni wọ́n fẹ́ béèrè ṣùgbọ́n ká tó ṣe ojú òkú sílẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ń béèrè bíi méjì kí n tó tún kí Gbénga náà tó tún jọ àwọn béèrè tẹ̀. afẹ́ fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ sáré kó àwọn béèrè yẹn lẹ̀ fún láàrin ìṣẹ́jú 6 sí 7 ká wá ṣe ojú òkú sílẹ̀. Ìbéèrè àkọ́kọ́ ni pé àwọn ọmọ akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ kan ní talk and do. Àwọn èèyàn bá dé táwọn èèyàn bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìpolongo báyìí àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ làákàyè àwọn ideas fantastic ideas wọ́n sọ pé àwọn máa sọ gbígbádàgbéje gbogbo wa gbọ̀n nígbà tí wọ́n bá dìbò fún wọn tí wọ́n bá délẹ̀ F9 náà ibi pẹlẹbẹ náà lọ ní ọ̀bẹ máa ń fi lélẹ̀ ó lè wá ó fẹ́ dàbí ẹni kó jẹ́ kó fẹ́ sú àwọn èèyàn láti nígbàgbọ́ nínú àwọn olóṣèlú. Kí ni ẹrù ọ̀rọ̀ lẹ ṣe rò wípé ẹ lè rìn tí àwọn èèyàn ó fi nígbàgbọ́ pé n tẹ́ ń sọ yìí àyípadà ọ̀tun rere yóò dé wọlé Nàìjíríà?
Ṣẹ́rí ẹni tí ó bá ní ìgboyà ẹ lè pè ní talk and do lèmi láti ìgbà tí a ti jẹ́ ọmọ kékeré nílùú Èkó náà ni fún àwọn tó wà lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ nígbà tí mo wà ní University of Lagos fún àwọn tó ń gbọ́ wa tí a jọ wà nílé ìwé University of Lagos fún àwọn òbí wọn àwọn ojúlùmọ̀ wọn mọ̀ pé mi ò ń ṣe irú èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ torí láti 30 ọdún sẹ́yìn ni mo ti ń ṣe kò sí nǹkan tí mi ò sọ tí mi ò ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ni nígbà tí a wà ní orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà la sọ pé a máa fún Nàìjíríà ní democracy nígbà táwọn ológun wà lórí oyè ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ mi nígbà tí mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ pé ṣẹ́rù ò bà mí ńgbà yẹn ni ẹ̀rù ò bà mí a lè gbákùrù ti àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ọdún 10 sẹ́yìn a fún wọn ní ìjọba tí wọ́n fẹ́ but ìjọba tí wọ́n fẹ́ yẹn ó kù díẹ̀ káàtó òun la ṣe ní pé ó kù díẹ̀ káàtó náà fún wa ní 1999 pé àbámákàn ti dìde ká nígbà àti fún yín níjọba alágbádá o àwọn olóṣèlú ti dé o àwa ń lọ o ó dàbí pé kí èèyàn ní igi síwájú lé ní igi mágòrò kó wá pọ́n kẹ wá mí igi yẹn àwọn aráàlú wá ṣá tí wọ́n lọ èyí náà ẹ wá dàbí ọdẹ tó ń sọ pé òun ò ní jẹun ọ̀ǹtì tóun bá pa ẹran tó ń pè lójèrè màdò ẹran tí ò sínú gbó ṣóyé yín bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àwa lọ ní 1999 bẹ́ẹ̀ ni a kò ṣiṣẹ́ lẹ̀ fún àwọn oníranú tí ò tẹ̀ mọ́ nǹkan tí wọ́n pè ní democracy ṣé àwa ṣe yẹn.
ẹ à lè pè wọ́n lóníranú náà bóyá bí tọ́gbọ́n wọn dé tọ́gbọ́n wọn dé tí làákàyè wọn dé ní wọ́n ṣe mọ́.
ìyẹn gan ni Yorùbá ń pè lóníranú ẹni tí ò bá lọ́gbọ́n tí ò ní làákàyè.
kò sẹ́ni tí ò lọ́gbọ́n ọgbọ́n kan ju ọgbọ́n lọ.
ṣẹlẹ̀ náà ṣe ń pè wọ́n lóníranú àbí kí ni ìtumọ̀ ìranú kankan àwọn tó ń ṣe tó ń kàn ṣe try and error ni Yorùbá pè lóníranú
ṣùgbọ́n tẹ́yìn bá débẹ̀
kò ní sí ìranú
ìrasẹ̀
kò sáyè fún ìranú bá ṣe dé la ṣe máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ gbogbo pé wọ́n ṣe 100 days in office àwọn ò ṣe yẹn first hour in office ni first minute in office iṣẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ nìyẹn iṣẹ́ ní máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ lójú ẹsẹ̀ bá ti máa ṣiṣẹ́ yẹn ọ̀ǹtì tí a bá gbé ògo orílẹ̀-èdè jáde níbi tó ń tọ́jú ẹ̀ pamọ́ sí.
bọ̀ tí ẹ bá dé orí àléfà tẹ́ ẹ bá rí gbogbo tẹ́ ẹ ń sọ ìṣe.
èmi ń sọ fún yín lẹ́nìí.
kí ni kí àwọn ọmọ ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà kí ni kí wọ́n ṣe fún yín.
èmi ń sọ fún yín lẹ́nìí mo ń sọ pé tí mi ò bá rí nǹkan tí mo ń sọ tí mi bá ṣe àwọn nǹkan tí mo ní mo fẹ́ ṣe èní ní ọjọ́ keje ṣóyè yín ní oṣù kínní ní 2023 mi ò máa resign ní straight máa tọ́ bọ̀wé pé mo ń lọ. kò ṣẹlẹ̀ rí bọ̀ tèmi máa ṣe ẹ lọ tọ́jú nǹkan tí mo sọ lénìí ẹ lọ tọ́jú ẹ̀ sílẹ̀ pé kẹ́ ẹ̀ ní olórí rí Nàìjíríà tó tọ́ bọ̀wé pé òun ò ṣe mọ́ nítorí pé kò ṣe nǹkan tó yẹ kó ṣe.
ẹ dáhùn ìbéèrè ẹyọ kan yìí kí nígbà tó béèrè àwọn ìbéèrè ní ká tó wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní ṣojú ìpẹ̀sẹ̀ Yorùbá ní ẹnu àgbà lóbi tí gbó wọ́n wá ní tí àgbà bá jókòó tó ń wò ló lọ́kàn kọ̀ọ̀kan ní tí ọmọdé bá gorí ilé ó ṣeé ṣe kó má rí kí ni àfojúsùn tí àbí èròǹgbà yín wípé kí àwọn àgbà àwọn alàgbà àwọn elder statement kí wọ́n wo àfojúsùn pé lágbájá báyìí ló máa lè ṣe ìlú ìyànjú eléyìí tá à ń pè ní endorsement kí ni àfojúsùn.
ọ̀nà méjì ni màá fi kan dáhùn lọ́rọ̀ òwe pé ọmọdé gbọ́n àgbà gbọ́n ni a ti fi dá Ilé Ifẹ̀ ṣòye ó tún ní àgbà òkè wà lọ́jà orí ọmọ tó àmọ́ àwọn àgbà tó wà Nàìjíríà wọ́n ń kọ́ ọ̀run ọmọ ni ṣòye òun la ṣe wà níbi tá a wà yìí àwọn àgbàlagbà tí wọ́n ń jẹ́ àgbálùmọ̀ lọ́wọ́ ọmọdé ni wọ́n àwọn yẹn ń ṣe àgbà tí a lè fi ara taratara máa gbọ́rọ̀ sí lẹ́nu ṣòye àwọn àgbà míì wà tó yẹ pé agbanilójú ni wọ́n báwo ni Yorùbá ṣe ń pè pé alọ́nilọ́wọ́ gbà ni wọ́n sọ àmọ́rú àwọn àgbà yẹn àmọ́ àwọn àgbà tó jágbà àwọn àgbà tó jẹ́ pé agbani tó jẹ́ pé àwọn àgbà yahoo wọ́n tó wà lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí so àwọn endorsement kan wà pé àwọn àgbà yahoo ló ṣe àwa ò fẹ́ rú àwọn endorsement yẹn kí la ṣe ń sọ ni pé àwọn tó wà ń bẹ́ẹ̀ ńgbà tí wọ́n jẹ́ káwó lọ́wọ́ débẹ̀ àwọn èèyàn ń ṣerú a ti mọ̀ pé láti gbà tán ti wà àwọn bàbá wa mọ̀ wọ́n pé táwọn ilé bá máa dàgbà wọ́n máa dà lúrú àwọn àgbà yẹn náà lọ́wọ́ à ń bẹ́ẹ̀ ńgbà tábíọ́lá win election tí wọ́n ṣe mọ̀dàrú tí wọ́n pa Abíọ́lá ṣe bí àwọn àgbà yẹn náà lọ ń ṣe endorsement ń sìn ṣe irú àwọn àgbà bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn lẹ́yìn fẹ́ káwa máa dọ̀bálẹ̀ fún.
kì í ṣe àgbà ẹyọ kan là ń sọ àwọn àgbà torí pé mọ̀ pé àgbà póríṣiríṣi àgbà dẹ̀ pọ̀.
òun náà ni mo ṣe ṣàlàyé gbogbo àwọn àgbà táwa ti pàdé.
endorsement dẹ̀ pọ̀.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni oríṣiríṣi.
endorsement láti ẹnu àwọn àgbà kan ló fọ́ ẹgbẹ́ kan.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
tó dáa kó fẹ́ pín ẹgbẹ́ kan sí méjì àbí mẹ́ta.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
ìyẹn kan ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì African Action Congress ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú ti yín.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
ó dàbí pé òkè lọ́dọ̀ yín presidential kìíní nìkan là ń gbọ́ àti ìrẹ́ nìkan tó pé mo fẹ́ ṣe gómìnà lábẹ́.
gbogbo ẹ̀ la ní gbogbo ẹ̀ la ní gbogbo ẹ̀ la ní àní governorship candidate lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ṣòro
àwọn kan láìkì ìpolongo ni.
wọ́n láìkì ìpolongo àmọ́ ṣé àwọn tí wọ́n ti gba ẹ̀kọ́ lọ́wọ́ yín àwọn náà ò fẹ́ kẹ́lòmíì gbèrì bá ṣe wà yìí lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ yìí tẹ́ bá lọ lẹ pósítà pé kíní candidate ni àwọn kan wà tó yẹ pé wọ́n ń lẹ pósítà iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n nìkan ya pósítà tí wọ́n bá ti ṣe tiwọn. So ó wà lóríṣiríṣi bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn but nǹkan táwọn ń sọ fún yín ni pé ọ̀rọ̀ àgbàlá ń sọ ń sìn kò ń ṣe ti polongo. Àwọn sọ fún yín pé oríṣiríṣi àgbàlá wa ti rí àmọ́ tó bá jẹ́ pé àwọn àgbà tí wọ́n wà nílùú yìí ń sìn tó bá jẹ́ pé wọ́n ti ṣojúṣe wọn ṣé ó yẹ kí ìlú rí bó ṣe wà yìí ni. Ó yẹ káwọn àgbà gan-an kán ti padà kán ti jókòó sórí armchair kán tẹ̀ máa relax torí pé àwọn àgbà wọn kan wà tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n jẹ ìgbà tiwọn wọ́n tún fẹ́ jẹ ti àwọn ọmọdé pẹ̀lú. Torí ẹ̀ la ṣe ní lọ síwájú lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà.
Let's move away from that and let's talk about another German issue that is affecting a whole lot of people. Let's look at ASU.
Yes.
What will you do different? Are you saying, would you want to sign or agree to all the memorandum of understanding that was signed in 2009? And also, you were quoted as saying that minimum wage, you're going to pay 100,000 naira.
It's no longer 100,000. We are 250 now. 250,000 is our minimum wage recommendation. At this point, yeah.
250.
Our own minimum wage is driven by the costs of living. It's not a permanent figure.
And you don't think that will drive up inflation?
The inflation you have now is driven by minimum wage? No. You have the lowest minimum wage on the continent of Africa, one of the lowest on the continent of Africa. And you also have an inflation of about 13% or more. I'm sure the figures are higher.
No, the inflation rate is over 20%.
Okay. So the last time I checked, it was 13, but now you're saying it's 20%.
Food inflation.
Typically, inflation is supposed to be caused by, high wages. In some cases, I think they call it wage pool inflation, yes. Something. So the one you have now, what is causing it? It is an inflation that is driven purely by poverty, because we are not producing. There's high demand, there's less supply because of other factors, insecurity, lack of infrastructure. So how do you expect your own people, your workers, to cope with inflation of 20% if they don't have the purchasing power?
No, you said 215,000.
What I'm saying, yes.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The 30,000 minimum wage that was approved all over. Not many of the state governors can pay.
That is not the problem. They are not paying because they are irresponsible. It's not because the money is not available. Let me tell you, have you ever heard that a state governor refused to pay himself security votes before? An average state governor in Nigeria takes nothing less than, the least of the governors take 300 million naira for security vote per month.
But how do you improve their IGR?
Per month.
When the IGR is that low?
There are some that are as high as 4 billion security votes. Then you divide that 4 billion by the number of workers in the state. You discover that a worker can get as high as 500,000 naira per month. So the question is not IGR. The question is the survivor of the worker. We're talking about the living. How do you survive here working in this radio station on 30,000 naira per month? Do you survive? Some people, 30,000 naira cannot even buy them recharge card for their phones. How do you expect a federal worker to go to work from January 1 or 2nd to January 31st on 30,000 naira in Lagos? What is the transportation cost between the office and his home? Can it be less than 1,000 naira? No. So if you work for 25 days, you understand? So how do you pay transportation to work if you are working with the federal government and your minimum wage is 30,000 naira and you have to travel from Ikorodu, even if you are using broom to travel? Yes. So your 30,000 is gone because you go to work for almost 20-something days. So you understand? So what happened to rent? What happened to food? Are you getting me? What if you have children and they need to go to school? Why are we wicked like this towards ourselves?
0905 668 1053. 0905 668 1053. ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lẹ́yìn odi +234 916 201 1053 +234 916 201 1053.
Please, I wanted to answer the question about ASU. ASU, yeah. I've been aware of ASU problems since the 90s when in university. That time ASU was asking for 1.9 billion naira. They didn't pay them. They said they are greedy. It was the same year that Babangida stole $12 billion. You know, you can put it on record. And he's still alive. He probably somebody will tell him this. So our priorities are wrong. I'm going into an agreement with ASU that is even different from the one they have now. We have to reform the education sector in a revolutionary way. It's not only university students that we need to keep in school. We need to take 20 million kids out of the streets, 20 million kids across the country. So the investment in education has to be a special kind of investment.
According to UNESCO, 22% of the nation's budget should go into education. So how many percent?
We'll have 22%, but we'll also have extraordinary funding that might be extra budgetary. We might need to put some supplementary budgets in place. But they are all, funnels for corruption now. The chair in my school, my secondary school, where I graduated in 1985, in Ondo State, I just came back from the village on the 2nd of January. This 1985 chair is still there. The Subeb chair did not last 2 years. No. The NDDC chair did not last 3 years. The plastic chair that was brought by Osopadek did not last 3 months. I'm one of the people paying for teachers in my secondary school whenever there is WIC so that they can have teachers. And I come from a state, Ondo State, where they claim that the industry in that state is education.
And also an oil-producing state.
An oil-producing state. I'm not making all these things up. Go and find out. But the people who are running the state are doing very well. Let me tell you, if a politician wants to build a house, they know where to get German toilets, Italian marbles. But when they want to build a secondary school, they don't know where to find sand, even if sand is available easily. They will go and buy sand from Lokoja to come and build a school in Ondo State that has sand. Yes, so these people have come to destroy this country, and we must not call it another name. ASU will be paid what they requested for, but we will have to invest more on education, because if you don't invest in education, you are investing in ignorance. Do you know how much it costs to feed a prisoner in Nigeria? 14,000 naira per day.
14?
That is officially on paper what it costs to feed a prisoner.
But what really gets to the prisoner?
Eleven is 14,000 naira per day. Yes.
What gets to the prisoner?
I don't know of any prisoner that gets 200 naira food per day.
All right, let's pick up the calls. And I really want you to talk on the issue of police brutality, police reform. But let's pick up this call. The number to call is 0916-201-1053 or 0905-668-1053. We are also live on Facebook. Fresh FM Lagos, we're live on Facebook. Drop your comments and opinions. Drop it there. We also on Twitter as well. Just drop your comments and opinions. Don't come up with claims that you cannot substantiate. Okay? Let's be civil. Exactly. Let's be civil here. Hello, good morning. Yeah, good morning. What's your name? Where you calling from? Emmanuel, let's talk. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Still picking up more calls. Hello, good morning.
Hello. Sowore. Hello, sir. Hello, 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 sir. Hello, sir. Ṣẹ́yìn ní PVC. Ọ̀dà ẹ jẹ́ kí ibo yín sọ̀rọ̀.
All right, thank you very much. Let's pick up more.
09056681053 plus 2349162011053. Hello, Akójúmọ́.
Yeah, good morning.
Ṣẹ́yìn ní PVC. Ìyàwó yín ní.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Alàgbà Fásunlé, Babátúndé Fásunlé, ẹ̀jẹ̀ àṣẹ díẹ̀ torí ṣẹlẹ̀ múra kankan. Ọlọ́run ni ò jẹ́ kíbọn ó kọ́ mọ̀.
All right, thank you. That was in fact really emotional.
It is. And we must understand that this is the position of thousands and millions of Nigerians. They have been pushed to the wall. But unlike other nations, they push them to the wall instead of them to push back.
Hello?
They are digging the wall.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
right then. You want to react to that?
ẹ bàbá àwa ò ṣaṣojú mọ́ a fẹ́ di olórí òun la ṣe ń bá yín sọ̀rọ̀ ẹni tó ń bá yín sọ̀rọ̀ Ọmọyẹlé Sowore lórúkọ mo ń gbé àpótí fún ipò ààrẹ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà la ṣe wá sórí ètò yìí lénìí ẹ yé máa dìbò fólè àwọn jẹgúdújẹrá àwọn amúnisìn ẹ yé máa dìbò fún ẹ dìbò fún àwọn tí ó mọ bí ìlú ṣe máa ní lọ síwájú àwa ti rí bí ọkùnrin kan bí ọ̀gbẹ́ni yẹn ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan mo gbé l'Amẹ́ríkà fún 20 ọdún tó bá di lálẹ́ gbogbo mílìkì tí ó wà nínú fíríjì wa tá máa lọ ó máa ní expiration date tá máa lọ sọnù ni ó ṣe dandan pé ká lọ máa sọ mílìkì nù oúnjẹ ẹja aláti sọnù ni lálẹ́ l'Amẹ́ríkà ń da ẹja nù tó ń da ẹran nù pé ó ti expire àwọn mo rí lukọ bó dàbí Port Harcourt ni wọ́n kó àwọn chicken kan wá tó expire ń gbà kan ibi tó ń sin chicken yẹn sì ń ṣe làwọn èèyàn tó ń wu síta tó ń lọ ń sè.
Okay, sir, I have a question for you. There was in fact a time when the former NLC president, President Adams Shomale, he was actually fighting for fuel and whenever there's fuel increase and all. But when he came into politics and became governor, he said that when he got into power, he saw that things were not the way it was. When he was outside, when he now got inside, he saw that it was different. Now, looking at you as a human rights activist, because you're looking at things from the outside, are you saying that when you get on the inside, you're not going to say, oh, what I thought it wasn't like?
No. I want to say 2 things.
Okay.
Adams Oselu was not an activist. Never. We know ourselves, those of us who are core activists in this country in the 90s. Adams Oselu was not part of us. He's a labor leader. A labor leader is different from...
But his strides during the textile industry in Kaduna, people still talk about it.
That you worked in a textile company does not make you an activist. I'm very serious. The second aspect of it is that I'm not just saying what I heard. I'm telling you what I know about the current situation of the Nigerian Treasury. I have done a lot of investigative reporting in my life, and nobody can dispute that. I have personally penned over 5,000 articles, news, investigative reports on Sahara Reporters. You can go and find out. Although it didn't have my byline, but I'm the founder of the platform. And I know for sure that this country has enough money to take care of its people. I know for sure. And I know where the money is hidden. You understand? I know what they are doing with the money. It is not that we don't have money that's a problem. It's that we have too many greedy people. Not only there are leakages too, but the biggest problem is the greed. And what is the greed? In Abuja, for instance, I was detained for 5 months, as I told you, 5 months. And one day, one DSS guy took me to the window of my cell and said, look at all those houses, 6,000 of them in Asokoro. Nobody's occupying them. 6,000 houses. These are mansions. Because their owners just stole money, built it, and have no need for them. Some of them, there was an estate I was living in Abuja. They said David Mark has houses there. He forgot that he's the owner of the house. He has not come back since he occupied. There's several of those houses all over the place. I'm just using housing as an example. But greedy people, we have over 20 cars in their compound. There are only 2 of them, or they have a child or a wife, or they have 4 kids. What do you need 20 cars for when the money is not your own? So that's the problem. There's, of course, leakages, there's corruption, there's outright larceny and theft of public funds. And this is what we are going to stop. I am using myself, and I'm giving you guarantee today.
Giving us your word.
Yes, I'm giving you my word, and I'm giving you not only guarantee, but warranty.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you said you're going to resign.
Yes. And my warranty is that if I will not deliver to you in this country what I promised, 50% in 2 years after I'm elected into office, I will resign from office.
No, are you saying that first 2 years?
First 2 years into office, If I cannot deliver 50% of my promises,
You will resign.
I will resign. If I haven't given you in 2 years 10,000 megawatts of electricity, different from what we have there now.
Okay.
You understand? If I've not given you stable electricity in 50% of the country, I will resign.
All right, let's pick up more
Yes.
calls. That's a promise.
Yes.
Hello.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning.
Oselu today. Yes, sir. Ever going to talk with yes, sir? Okay. Kí wọ́n tó dáhùn ìbéèrè yẹn sà, ṣé ẹ ní PVC? Ẹ ti ń dìbò láti 1800 kọ́, ṣé ẹ ní PVC báyìí? Ṣé ìyàwó yín náà ní? Kódà ẹ jẹ́ kí alàgbà Sowore fún wọn dáhùn ìbéèrè yẹn.
Ọ̀rọ̀ pé bí a gbórúkọ yẹn dáadáa kò ń ṣe excuse láti dìbò fáwọn tí ò ní mú lọ síwájú wá sílùú. Ẹ ti gbọ́ sìn kí ekulé kó gbọ́ kó sọ fún tòkó. Ìyẹn jẹ́ number one. Ìkejì ni pé ọ̀rọ̀ pé àwọn èèyàn kan promise pé ó tọ́ ni ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn ó tẹ̀ ti sú wọn pé kò sí kò tẹ́ fẹ́ sọ fún wọn. Wọ́n ibẹ̀ pé wọ́n tún ti dé ni. Àmọ́ nǹkan tí àwa fẹ́ sọ fún yín pé àwa yàtọ̀ sí àwọn olóṣèlú àwọn ìjẹ̀lú tó ń parọ́ fún yín. Àwa lórúkọ.
Ẹ sọ pé tó ń parọ́ fún wa, ẹ má ní tó ń parọ́ fún yín.
Gbogbo àwọn aráàlú là ń bá sọ̀rọ̀ àyàtẹ̀yìn náà tó ń parọ́ fún yín. So ẹ jẹ́ kí ìyẹn yàtọ̀ pé bí Yorùbá ṣe ń palówe pé tí ẹni máa dáṣọ fún yàn tọrọ ẹ̀ làwọn èmi jẹ́yàn tó jẹ́ pé mo ti wà around for 30 solid years, 3 decades.
Okay,
So
just this week,
yes.
A legal luminary, Chief Alfred Babalala, said that the biggest spender will win the election this 2023. Do you agree to that?
No, I don't. I think Nigerians have learnt their lessons. Yes. If the elections will be free and fair, it will deliver big blows on some of the big spenders.
Well, you say you don't trust INEC, even with the
That
feedback.
is the reason I said. Is the reason I said if the election will be free and fair, because that's INEC's job. But I also think it's the job of the people to protect whomever their votes, so that it will reflect their desires and wishes and aspirations for the future.
All right, we have some messages.
Káàtó lọ sórí mẹ́sẹ̀gì, alàgbà Omoyele Sowore.
Yes.
Ọmọ Yorùbá ní bí mo ṣe rò.
Yorùbá iṣẹ́ rí ọ̀rọ̀ mi pọ̀ lẹ́sẹ̀ lára mi Yorùbá ni lára mi ìjọ ni l'Ondo State. So
Ọmọ ìpínlẹ̀ Ondo.
Ondo State mo ti wà Ondo South àwa la máa ń wẹ̀ lódò ẹsẹ̀ odò ní local government wa bẹ́ẹ̀ bá yí sọ́tún ẹsẹ̀ ni bẹ́ẹ̀ yí sósì inú odò ni but odò nígbà rèrè àwa lọ.
But the question is this: gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Yorùbá, kí ni àfojúsùn tí tàbí èrò tí tàbí ìgbàgbọ́ tí nínú pé Yorùbá nation o, Biafra nation o, Arewa o, kí lẹ rò? Pínpín ló dáa ni àbí kádó pọ̀?
Mo ti sọ nínú ní èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì fún wọn gbà tí a sọ̀rọ̀ pé mo fẹ́ sọ lédè Yorùbá pé ṣé orí èmi ò ń báyọ̀ ṣe ẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà àmọ́ èmi ní ìgbàgbọ́ wípé tí wọn bá tún orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ṣe ní ọdún tí a wà yìí ní 2023 ẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà máa ṣẹlẹ̀ tí a bá dìbò fún ẹni tí ó máa gbé orílẹ̀-èdè kúrò nínú ìyà àti òṣì ẹni mi mò ń jókòó síwájú yìí ṣebí mo wà wájú yìí kí lẹ gbé mi wá ṣe mí báyìí ṣe ẹ fẹ́ gbé mi wá síbí ìkẹ́ tún lọ dìbò fẹ́ lómi nù ẹni yẹn ló jókòó síwájú yìí nígbà tí àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá nation bẹ̀rẹ̀ àwa pè wọ́n sọ fún wọn pé iṣẹ́ tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe yóò ju bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń ṣe lọ ẹ jẹ́ ká pawọ́ pọ̀ ká jọ ṣe pọ̀ ká kọ́kọ́ lé àkàtà lọ náà kí àjọ afáàbọ̀ bá torí Yorùbá nation tẹ́yìn sọ ẹ̀kọ́ ń sọ bíi pé tó bá dá Yorùbá nation lẹ́ǹsìn yìí pé a kàn di Eldorado ní a kàn di orílẹ̀-èdè tó jẹ́ pé iná wà ń bẹ́ mu ní àwọn ọmọ alẹ́ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ń kọ́ tọ́jọ́ ń da Nàìjíríà rú kí lè fẹ́ ṣe ń pa wọn kò sẹ́ni tó dá mi lóhùn àwọn yẹn ló wá gbẹ̀yìn bẹ́bọ jẹ́ tí wọ́n lọ àtáàkì Chief Sunday Igboho mi mọ̀ bóyá ti gbọ́ àwọn téèpù wọn kan tó ń sọ ń kiri gbogbo bọ́n ṣe ń sọ bó ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ bó ṣe ń wo bó ṣe máa bà Yorùbá nation jẹ́ but yàtọ̀ sí ẹ̀ Yorùbá nation ní ọ̀nà méjì tí ó ṣe ń ṣẹlẹ̀ àwọn kan wà tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n lọ pamọ́ sábẹ́ Yorùbá nation politician ni wọ́n but wọ́n rí pé ọwọ́ wọn ò tó pẹpẹ ọwọ́ àgbà wọn ò wọ kèrègbè so wọ́n á fi Yorùbá nation wọ́n sá sábẹ́ àwọn yẹn wà lára àwọn tó kọ̀ sí some of the problems nígbà tí Yorùbá nation tí wọ́n lọ yìnbọn sí Chief Sunday Igboho tó ń lọ pa títí dológbò nínú ilé wọn náà pa nítorí kó wọn wá sí Àbújá àwa làwa lọ gbà wọ́n sílẹ̀ inú mi ò dùn gbàdá dé court tí ó sí ẹni Yorùbá person ní Federal High Court gbogbo àwọn tó ń pariwo kí ibo lẹ sápamọ́ sí oògùn ta ní àsìkò tá a máa lò nìyí láti ẹ̀wọ́nú kóòtù kí a máa gbóyin wọnú bẹ̀ kó máa ta gbogbo adájọ́ àti kèébí kọ̀ táwọn Yorùbá nation sọ nìyẹn nígbà yẹn àmọ́ kò ń ṣe pé oògùn sí èmi ò mọ bí oògùn wà bí a kò sọ oògùn but èmi mọ̀ pé ẹni ò bá nígboyà tó lọ kó àkèrè tó lọ kó ìjàpá sọ́nù ó fẹ́ fi ìyà jẹ rẹ̀ ni so ká má sọ̀rọ̀ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ torí èmi ò fẹ́ ká ṣe sọ bí ọ̀rọ̀ yẹ̀yẹ́ torí a sì máa nídìí gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n ń jà fún òmìnira ara wọn.
But do you believe in the unity of Nigeria?
I believe in the unity. I believe in the unity of Africa, but I don't believe that you should enforce unity with assault weapons. It should be voluntary. It should come from a position of satisfaction and justice. So, but the unity of Nigeria that the leaders are talking about, those ones are just mountain unity, because you can't unite people. It's just like being in a marriage, you know. And you say to me that, do you believe in the sanctity of a marriage when the husband is beating up the wife every day? I don't believe in the sanctity of such a marriage. Marriage should be, you know, respect and reciprocity of it. If you don't respect your wife and you abuse your wife, you can't tell me to keep supporting your marriage. I will not support such a marriage. If it involves abuse, if there's no equity and equality within the unity of Nigeria, I can't keep supporting. I'm friends with a lot of these groups. I'm friends with Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu. I go to court on his behalf. I met him in New York to discuss. I know what they are looking for. In fact, you'll be surprised that they are more interested in justice than they are interested in, you know, breaking up the country. But how can you keep the country together when small agitation in the southeast, you send soldiers to go and be killing them?
Okay, how about restructuring?
My restructuring, I've told you, restructuring is another aphorism for confusion. If you don't have a brand new constitution, that's the best way to restructure Nigeria. Go to a conference, a sovereign national conference, bring all your issues, whatever you want to be restructured. You can't restructure Nigeria without fixing the constitution of Nigeria.
No, but we had a sovereign national conference.
We never had.
In 2014.
No, it wasn't sovereign.
But the point
It wasn't sovereign.
It was not.
If it was sovereign, the conference itself would have determined how the constitution would have been promulgated. It wasn't sovereign.
All right, let's check out some messages from here on social media.
Yeah.
This one says, good morning to you at Fresh FM Lagos. This man is full of knowledge and wisdom. Keep it up. Apology from Yana. This one says, this one says, what is the essence of him being in the Senate with criminals who will silence him? What is,
I'm sure he's responding to...
Okay, probably responding to a message.
Somebody.
Okay, this one says, but anyway, let's pick up some.
No, let me just know this first.
Go ahead.
Omoyele Sowore ààbò ṣe pàtàkì
Bẹ́ẹ̀.
lórí Nàìjíríà. Ǹjẹ́ ẹ nígbàgbọ́ nínú Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn?
Mo nígbàgbọ́ nínú ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá lè ṣe ètò ààbò fún aráàlú, àdúgbò ni o àbí abúlé ni o, gbogbo ẹni. Position mi lórí àwọn ẹgbẹ́ yẹn ni pé kó ní proper training, ṣóyé yín, because a ti ń gbọ́ sí pé Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn náà ti ń ṣe bí ọlọ́pàá, wọ́n lọ gbáyàn létí, wọ́n lọ jíyàn gbé, wọ́n lọ lùyàn, ó dà pé wọ́n ti pààyàn gan ní àwọn ìlú kan. So tí ó bá sí proper training, kí definition wà pé okay o, ibi tí ààyè yín dé nìyí o, ibi tẹ́ máa kọjá sí ni jurisdiction ní àwọn nǹkan tẹ́ lè ṣe nìyí, àwọn nǹkan tẹ́ lè ṣe nìyí, tó wà regulated, because tẹ́ bá kàn fi àwọn Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn lẹ̀ kíákíá làwọn governors yẹn máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń lò wọ́n fún oríṣiríṣi nǹkan tí ó yẹ kán ṣe. So there must be a uniform regulatory process for security in the country. Like I believe in state police, I believe in campus policing. I don't believe in this, national police that is corrupt, bureaucratic and ineffective.
Now, still talking about the police. Earlier on, I talked about police reform.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, they killed someone in Ajah.
A lawyer.
Now, how do you think, as a president, how do you reform the police? And the other question is, would you also be the Minister of Petroleum?
No. It's the most stupid thing in Nigeria for someone who has already been elected as president to now come and become a minister. No. So, and if you are hungry for a minister and you want to be serious, why don't you go and be Minister of Tourism as president? I will know that it's not driven by greed. But you don't have a position for president and minister at the same time. It's unconstitutional even. It's just like being a headmaster, you understand? And you insist on being the school prefect. Are you getting my point?
No, we have headmasters that still teach.
No. I said, did you just hear what I said? Yes, you say you are headmaster of a school already, and you are insisting that you want to become the school prefect.
But how about you want to bring about sanity to the sector?
So which sanity has come to the sector since presidents have been doing?
You're saying that
I said, I'm not going to be president of Nigeria and at the same time apply to be appointed as a minister.
No,
It's
Any
any ministry for that matter.
What of Minister of Tourism?
No, I don't want to be. I'm already presiding over all the ministries. And if I cannot find a competent person to run the petroleum ministry, then I have no business being president of Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. 09056681053 plus 2349162011053. If you repeat.
Yeah.
Hello. Akojúmọ́ sir. Kábíyèsí sir. Máa bá wa ṣe sir. Orúkọ yín sir. Ẹ kàn sọ orúkọ yín sir. Okay.
Wow.
Lẹ́tí ń tẹ̀lé ìbò.
Ibo, Ben.
A lè ṣì dáná. Hello sir. Ẹjọ ṣe any PVC sir.
Ben, kò ṣeé ṣe.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, you still have not answered the question on police reform.
No, so I was saying that because there was a call. Police reform is personal to me, right? I've been a victim of police brutality since my days in a university. People are just talking about SARS in 2020. I was detained by SARS in 1998. inside in Ikeja here. There is a cell in Ikeja that is called German cell. Tí Yorùbá ń pè ní ìdúró sí, ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ sí. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, you can't stand up, you can't sleep properly. So when I was first detained at SARS, everybody in the cell, everybody had been shot in their leg except us. So gbogbo wọn ló légbò lára. And we've been shouting since then that the police needs reform. But
Now, how do you go about it?
so the police reform has to be done in a few formats. One is that you must attack the issue of police recruitment. We have gotten to a point where we are recruiting armed robbers into the police. You understand? Armed robbers, kidnappers, because there is no regulation of how people are recruited into the police. If you want to join the police today and you have 700,000 naira, you'll be in the police by whenever they do their election. Even if you're an armed robber.
No, but according to it, there are two ways police are recruited. You know, for the Nigerian Police College, you know, you need like signing of maybe the king of your town, or you know.
Do you know how many? Do you know?
They don't go to the police college. How do you go about?
No. The rank of there's a police university too. Those ones are better ways of joining the police.
Officers.
Yes, but the police college one and your king signing, does that make any sense? A lot of kings. There are some kings that are armed robbers themselves. There are senior police officers that are armed robbers in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have. Yes, as that more to jẹ́ pé ìmí inú ọlọ́ṣà ni wọ́n. Ìkan jẹ́ governor ní Ọ̀yọ́ state now. Ọlọ́pàá tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n lè kúrò lọ́lọ́pàá nítorí ó ń yá armed robber níbọn. Ó jẹ́ governor l'Ọ̀yọ́ state. Akala.
Well, we can't verify.
I can verify. I have the document of how he was expelled from the police. It was published on Sahara Reporters. But Obasanjo made sure that he was imposed on Oyo State because he didn't like what's his predecessor? Ladoja. That's part of the problem in Nigeria. You have criminals. There was a guy who was in the Senate who came into the Senate and said, when he entered the Senate, he was a senator from Niger State. I keep forgetting his name. He said, wow, he used to be a DIG or so. He said, all these guys in the Senate, I used to arrest them for armed robbery. Yahoo. How did they get to the Senate? There's a in Imo State. He used to be driver to Ibekwe, Sam Ibekwe, those, yes, he was the driver to him, the current governor of Imo State. He became governor, he didn't win election. He was number 4 in election, he became governor.
That was judiciary, but court.
You don't accept judiciary injustice because you want to justify it. So there's something wrong with this country, and that's what we are here to say. We must discontinue. That's why our power cry or our war cry is we cannot continue like this.
All right, because of our time, I think we have to wrap it up. But in just 30 seconds, your parting shot.
My parting shot is not a parting shot because I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
I believe that it's up to Nigerians this time around. Because of the last speaker who said he has tried since the 50s.
Yes.
And people are continuing to lose hope in the democratic process. Because morons have hijacked the democracy in Nigeria. That's why I call it morontocracy. Yes. But it's up to the people. It is up to you, if you are listening to me, to change the direction or the course of the country and your fortune. If you don't, we are going to be here again complaining in a few years, if not even months from now, because we have less than 2 months to go. Vote right, vote wisely, vote for Omoyele Sowore of the African Action Congress.
Can you also assure us that you will bring your campaigns and stuff, campaign jingles?
Well, of course, whatever we have.
We've not had one here, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
governorship, we don't even know.
We will send it to you. But you owe us a duty.
Okay.
You got to play it to everyone too. It's your contribution. If I hallelujah, be shame woju me here. Oh, one we wa gbowo. Ṣé ẹ fẹ́ kórílẹ̀ èdè ìdá ni? Àwa náà ra dísù àárẹ̀pọ̀. Ẹ rí i pé ta jí wá sí ibà láàárọ̀ ìta wá sí station yìí. Àmọ́ seriously, ṣe rí gbogbo bá ṣe ń ṣe ètò wa, àwọn aráàlú ló ń dáwó fún wa, tá a fi ń káàkiri gbogbo àgbáyé. Ẹ̀yin náà ẹ̀dá ẹ ṣe nǹkan kan fún wa
ìkànnà ṣe yìí.
kí ìlọsíwájú lè wà fún ilẹ̀ torí tó bá dáa lọ́la ìwà ló máa dáa. So,